Now I would like to invite Professor Bhede.
Thank you, Arvind, and Asim, and the entire School of Public Policy in Hyderabad. Uh, it's a pleasure to actually also share this platform um, with listening to Professor Srivastav and Professor Kannan and Professor Mahadevi. And I'm happy that I follow. I share a lot of views which have already been shared by them. I'm first going to begin by outlining the challenges that we actually have in restoration. Because I think before moving on to a reimagination, one of the first questions that comes to my mind is, do we even know what is being lost or what is lost before talking about a revival or before talking about a restoration? And here I have two humble submissions to make. Number one, we are not over the pandemic yet. uh, the way in which this pandemic is growing, the way in which it is exposing so many fault lines in our society, and particularly urban societies at large, and in our governance system, it may be possible that the entire unfolding of the pandemic may take many, many months. And in cities which are like the nerve centers of our economy, whether it is Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and so on and so forth. Okay. And I think this is something that we definitely need to understand, that the futures of workers, the future of the entire country in some ways, if we really recognize cities as whatever you call them, growth engines, you call them nerve centers, that they are going to be impacted in a massive way. And I think therefore we really don't know what is at stake. Okay? What we know as of now is that just with this roughly 6 weeks of lockdown, what are the impacts both created by the fear of the pandemic, the actions which are taken over it, and the effects of the humanitarian crisis which is linked to the lockdown itself. So the real picture of what is lost is to yet emerge. Okay? But we have several indications. And there I again wish to pursue three kinds of challenges. Okay? And for this, I'm going to classify perhaps especially the informal sectors and informal settlements in cities, and work, focusing on work into three kinds of categories. Uh, so this is not a researched category, and I'm just attempting this kind of a classification. But one is a kind of workers where the workplace is not much impacted. Okay? The access to the workplace is disturbed, but workplace per se is not impacted. These may range from thinking about things like even people who work with waste. Okay? So the dumping grounds of the city are very much operational. They are working. It is the access to these dumping grounds and then the front end of this entire industry, which is the recycling part, which is actually blocked. Right? So these, in this case, restoration presents a different situation. A second category of workers and work is where there is a direct link to employers, where there are informal sector work which is linked to providing services. Okay? And for this also, there is, I mean, if you look at the national statistics, then within the service sector, you roughly have about 40 to 50% people who are engaged again in the informal sector, right? For them, again, there is a direct connect to the employer for many of them, and their restoration of the link to the employer may not be very, very difficult. It may be possible unless it is a own account worker, which again presents another kind of complexity. The real issue, I would say, and the most complex issue is when it comes to the unorganized sector enterprises per se. And these are enterprises uh, where which are so thin, which are where the profit margins are thin, where the amount of capital and the investment, the way it is shared, is so layered that they operate on wafer thin margins, and they are built up incrementally. They have been built up, so their relationship to space, their relationship to the governing structures and institutions, and their relationship to work per se and work orders is always full of risk. At any given time, what we call as normal times also, it is full of risk. And the kind of relationships which are involved are extremely intricate, and they are built up over a period of time. Okay. Now the issue is, what happens to these enterprises? Here you will see that there are at least 2-3 scales which are involved. Number one, where you will have a contractor or an employer who is not very different from the employees themselves. Okay. The difference between the employer and the employee is of, like, let's say a few hundreds, or it's like 1 or 2 times better off, I would say, in terms of taking and having the risk capacity. And there are others where you will see that both of them also cohabit the same space, and a final category where you have non-resident enterprise organizers and whose employees stay in informal settlements. So given this fourfold kind of category, we need to really think of the third and the fourth category as perhaps being the most vulnerable, most difficult to restore, and yet it also posits, I think, it's one of the biggest sectors within the entire informal economy. So many enterprises which are unincorporated, which are not registered, which have workers who work there, sleep there, live there, and I think that's the kind of challenge that one is facing. Is it going to be easy to restore this? We don't know, because these are not the enterprises which are ever going to be recognized, ever going to be getting the benefits of any subsidies. What it requires is really the organization of the entire economy. And if business as usual actually changes for the rest of the economy, it becomes more formal, then perhaps these enterprises may not stand any place at all. They may find it even more difficult to revive themselves in the way that they did, or they may not come up at all. So they may just get lost. And I think those are very real worries. I think before even talking about workers, I want to raise another big challenge in talking about opacity, and which is the entire dilemma of visibility and opacity, which stands in the way of restoration. How visible should enterprises be? How visible should the workers be? And I think this distrust and transverse relationship with the state, with the governing agencies, is something which characterizes even the welfare effort which is being undertaken now. And I think it is also going to be the principal challenge when it comes to restoration. Migrant laborers are preferring not to go to shelters which are set up by the state. They are often preferring to basically either leave the city or embed themselves very deep into informal settlements, okay, where it is only hunger which seems to draw them out for accessing any kind of service. Now, given this kind of a deep distrust of the state, is it possible for us to restore any kind of indication? And is it possible for us to establish new rules of business, as Professor Srivastav has suggested or Professor Kannan has suggested? Because there are going to be 2 things that one needs to perhaps worry about. Number one, will the state have the capacity and the will to make these transformations? And second, from the demand side, will the workers have the will and the organizational power to visibilize themselves and to get recognized and be visible on their own terms? Okay? Extremely critical questions to ask. If we look at what is unfolding today, I would like to suggest that transformation may be a possibility, but indications of state behavior, if one is trying to see the behavior of the central government, different state governments, the centralization, decentralization question which has been raised, the state capacity for investing in welfare, for reaching out to every worker is perhaps going to be quite a challenge for the state itself, both in terms of resources as well as in terms of exerting a will to do so. And I do think these challenges should be taken on board. What one can imagine, I mean, if one has to let imagination run forth, then it has to be something where every person, irrespective of the multiple identities that they carry today, I think what people suffer from is if someone has a yellow ration card, someone has an orange ration card, someone is not domiciled in a state, has a ration card which belongs to the village, or you come to other kinds of entitlements, whether it comes to things like holding a Aadhaar card or not holding a Aadhaar card, or you begin to think of belongs to a poverty line, a voter list, and so on and so forth. Okay, registration in the boards, again another central scheme which has been imagined. So entitlement has to be linked to a person. Entitlement needs to be portable, and for this I think state governments, local governments, central government, all of them definitely need to be thinking differently. And I think those steps are really necessary for establishing any kinds of welfare entitlement. This is something which definitely I think the pandemic is teaching us, that we brought in an Aadhaar card in the name of portable entitlements. We never brought in the portability. We never brought in the entitlement. So even now state governments are still hassling over and thinking about how to link a food entitlement of a person and thinking about ways to do that. These are being barriers to them. Who accommodates and takes responsibility for running a shelter? Whether it is the responsibility of the employer, whether it is the responsibility of the state. And I think here is where, if we are thinking about imagination, this personal dimension that every citizen matters, every person matters, I think has to be iterated and redrawn, repeated. I'll stop.
Thank you, Professor Bhide, for unfolding many issues and challenges in restoring the work in informal sector.